Hi there. Do you know how a fixed indexed annuity works? Well, by the end of this video, I'll make sure you know precisely how one works before you go signing on the dotted line. My name is Michael Malone, and for the best annuity advice and information, do be sure to subscribe to my channel here, and then also be sure to click on that notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload other new videos. Now, first of all, you want to know that any annuity, including these fixed indexed annuities, are a contract that you're going to have with an insurance company. It makes it unique not only with the benefits that we're going to talk about inside of these fixed indexed annuities, but it also makes this type of investment tool unique in that it's very different than, say, a mutual fund investment, a portfolio, or stocks, etc. In that an annuity, any type of annuity, and in particular these fixed index annuities, are a contract that you're going to have with the insurance company that really obligates that insurance company to certain things, including these benefits inside of that contract. Now, as far as the basics of a fixed indexed annuity and how they work, I would first share with you that the way I like to think about fixed indexed annuities is I like the analogy of the Golden Gate Bridge, driving across it out there in San Francisco. If you can kind of picture yourself driving across that bridge, you have rails on either side of that bridge. In these fixed indexed annuities, you basically have rails on either side of your portfolio inside of those annuities. So you're going to have a rail on one side of your portfolio that will protect that portfolio from a certain amount of loss. You'll have a rail on the other side of that portfolio that may limit your gains in that portfolio. And I'll talk to you a little bit more in depth about that as well. But first, I just want you to know that you're going to have rails like going across a bridge. You're going to have rail on one side protecting your annuity from loss, and you're going to have rails on the other side of the annuity and the portfolio kind of limiting what amount of gain you may have there. And we'll talk about both of those a little bit more in depth. And by the way, if you'd like to look further into putting this type of fixed indexed annuity uniquely in place for you, do feel free to click on the link down below to apply to become my client. And I would also recommend that when you're done watching this video, check out the other video I created called All Retirement Annuities Are Not Equal. In that video, you're going to learn how a lot of these different annuities can be different and unique in their own ways. And I will include the link to that video in my description down below for you. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into that protection rail that I was talking about. Remember, we're talking about driving across the Golden Gate Bridge and having rails on the side of our performance in the portfolio inside of these annuities, these fixed indexed annuities, and kind of how they work. So let's focus a little bit more on the protection side and what that means. You can have options on those rails on the protection side. You may say, hey, I want that rail over there to protect me from any loss inside of my portfolio. In other words, I don't want to participate in any of the loss if my portfolio goes down. Or perhaps I'm willing to participate in the first 5% loss or the first 10% loss. Typically in these annuities, you'll have the ability to choose what type of loss you want to have or are comfortable with. So just to give you a quick example, let's say you're in this mutual fund portfolio inside of the fixed indexed annuity. And let's say that portfolio for this year actually goes down 20%, okay? So the portfolio itself is actually down 20%, but that rail, that protection rail that you have in place, if you've put it at 0% loss, you don't participate in that 20% loss at all. If you put a rail in place, so to speak, for a 5% loss, you're comfortable with a 5% loss, then you only participate in the first 5% loss, not the full 20%. So that's kind of how the protection side of the fixed index annuity works, is that you get to determine what part of any loss you would be comfortable with participating in that given year. Now, when we have that protection rail in place, as we're driving across that bridge, remember earlier I talked about we've got that rail on the other side of the bridge too, that rail on the other side of the annuity. So we've protected that portfolio from a certain amount of loss, but in doing so, we're going to have a rail on the other side of the portfolio that is going to limit our gain in that portfolio as well. So we may have that limited to a 5% gain in the portfolio, a 10% gain in the portfolio, maybe a 15% gain in the portfolio. So what that means, again, let's say the opposite happens. The portfolio doesn't go down 20% this year. We don't need that protection, but the portfolio went up 20% this year. Well, depending upon what rail we have in place on the upside, if the portfolio were to have gone up 20% and our rail was set at 5%, we're only going to participate in the 5% growth, not the 20. If we had a rail set at a 10% growth, we're going to participate in the first 10% growth, not the 20%. Now you may ask, why would I put rails on the top side of my growth? Why wouldn't I just participate in that full growth? Basically, the reason for that is you're really focusing on the downside. And whatever we set that downside protection rail at is going to kind of dictate what the insurance company is willing to give us on the upside. So if we say, hey, we don't want to participate in any part of the downside, we want to have a zero downside on our downside protection rail, the insurance company may come back and say, well, if you want a zero downside, you're going to be limited to 5% on the upside. However, maybe if you're willing to participate in the first 5% of a loss, we're okay as the insurance company letting you participate in the first 10% of the growth. So it really depends upon the annuity that you're looking at, the specific fixed indexed annuity and what company you're looking at. But that's why, obviously, if we could participate in all the upside of the annuity, we'd like to do that. But really the reason you use a fixed indexed annuity is to have some type of protection on the downside, especially as you get closer to retirement. So if you're protecting on the downside, the insurance company is going to say, hey, we're comfortable with protecting you on the downside, but we're also going to ask you as the investor to give up some of the upside to accomplish that. Now, I would also share with you in how do these fixed annuities work. One last thing. Now that you kind of understand what it means to have these rails in place, a protective rail on the downside and maybe a restrictive rail on the upside, these fixed indexed annuities will also very often offer you an additional benefit called guaranteed retirement income. So the rails are really there in these fixed index annuities to protect your portfolio as you're moving towards retirement. The guaranteed retirement income benefit of these annuities is for once you get into retirement. So if you're retiring as early as, say, 59 and a half, or you're retiring later on in the years, maybe 60, 61, 62, whatever it may be, once you turn on this guaranteed retirement income, that guaranteed retirement income means that you're going to have retirement income there for the rest of your retirement, for the rest of your years. So in the earlier years in a fixed indexed annuity, you've used those rails to kind of protect and limit, I guess, to some extent your portfolio, but you're really about protecting it as you get close. So you're doing that as you're getting closer to retirement, and then as you move into retirement, you're taking advantage of this guaranteed retirement income as you move into and through retirement. And once again, if you'd like to have one of these annuities put in place for you, uniquely for you, as you move to and through your retirement, do feel free to click on the link down below to apply to become my client. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel here, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and I hope something good happens to you out there today.